Okay, we're going to reconvene back into open session at 7:02. Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise, place your right hand over your heart, and repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Linda, are you on the line? Linda Porras?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, then the record will reflect that all cabinet and all board members are present. Approval of the minutes of the meeting of February 16th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
By Wendy Jonathan. Is there a second?
Tricia Pierce.
By Tricia Pierce. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, call for the question. Preferential vote?
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, that carries 6-0. Board meeting addenda. Mr. Bailey, is there any changes to tonight's agenda?
No change.
No changes. Is there a motion to approve the agenda of the meeting of March 2nd, 2021?
So moved. Anna Conover.
Conover? See, now I have to look to the right, though. Is there a second?
Second, Angela Torres.
Second by Angela Torres. Discussion? Okay, hearing none. Call for the question. Preferential vote?
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that carries 6-0. Community staff student recognition. Mr. Bailey.
I'd like to invite up to the podium Mrs. Mary Perry, our Public Information Officer. Mary?
Thank you very much and good evening. It's very nice to see Wendy on the dais. Nice to have you back. So I have 3 announcements tonight. The first one is the California Teacher of the Year, Allison Sear, who we all, of course, know, was recognized last week by the Modern Woodman with the Hometown Hero Award, honoring her work with our children. You may recognize the organization. They're a fraternal financial group that has often supported Desert Sands events and foundation. So congratulations to Allison. She continues to speak at events throughout the area and the state, sharing her, of course, incredibly positive message about education. Secondly, I'd like to note that our own Joe Martin, who is the Palm Desert High School's film and broadcasting, as I say, guru, is going to be receiving the One Future Coachella Valley Award. That's called the Future is Ours Award. And that's a recognition for those who work in advancing education throughout the valley. So I work very closely with Joe on a number of projects that he's kind enough to do on behalf of the district. So I'm very excited, and I know several of you will be at the virtual award ceremony. The third announcement is regarding Dr. Kelly Mae Vollmer, our Assistant Superintendent of Education. I know I don't have this right, Kelly, so I promise I will next time, but Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services and Technology. She can tell you the right way of saying it. And she has been named to the Board of Directors of the Consortium for School Networking Association. Their board chair, Steve Langford, said, Kelly's well-rounded experience as a teacher, academic coach, elementary principal, and more will bring important hands-on classroom insight to the COSIN Board of Directors. So congratulations to Kelly, and look for another announcement from COSIN later this week. Finally, I'm representing Director of Community Engagement and the Foundation, Sean Webb, letting you know that there were 92 nominations for the incredibly talented awards in February. So he did the picking of the names today, and 2 of our teachers this time will be receiving a CV Harvest box. The first one goes to Elizabeth Van Dorn, who's the IB coordinator and math teacher at La Quinta High School. She was nominated by a coworker who says, Mrs. Van Dorn has always been an exceptional educator. Since becoming the IB coordinator, she has been incredible support and a leader. Thanks to all for all you do. Secondly, as a teacher at Thomas Jefferson Middle School, Spencer Dorn, and he was nominated by a student who said, he is patient with me in turning in my assignments. So I think it's pretty exciting that this was a winner from a student nomination. So thank you very much for allowing me to share all of this information with you.
Thank you. Introduction of new or recently promoted employees. We don't have any tonight. We have one information item, which is our Head Start program report for January of 2021. And then we have staff conference items, and I'll turn the first one over to Angela Torres, our representative from Shadow Hills High School. You're on.
Have a video that we would like to present.
We have some breaking news coming at you on March 13th, 2020. I was just informed that the pandemic has been spreading faster and faster, and we have been forced to move into distance learning.
Impressive. Angela, is there anything else you want to add for your ASB report?
I don't think so. That's all.
Well, let me put an exclamation point on it. I just want to say it's been a pleasure having you up here on the dais as a student board member. Certainly, I've enjoyed your pleasant personality and your spirit. I wish you continued success on your leadership journey and success in college, career, and most importantly, life. I have a plaque I'd like to provide you right now to commemorate your service up here. So thank you.
Okay, we'll move into 13.2, the California Department of Public Health Outdoor and Indoor Youth and Recreational Adult Sports Guidance Presentation.
Dr. Vollmer approaches the podium. Obviously, a lot of news around sports right now. A lot of the restrictions have been relaxed due to the declining COVID case rates. So Dr. Vollmer will be sharing what the opportunities are this evening.
Absolutely, and good evening. I do want to give you an update on the new guidance. There is an agenda item this evening surrounding these guidance, so we wanted to provide you with an update of what they are. You'll remember that on February 2nd, we came to the board and asked the board to approve that our athletic teams could compete while adhering to the California Department of Public Health and the California Interscholastic Federation return of educational-based athletics. And the ask primarily then was that as the sports moved through the colored tiers allowed to compete by the Department of Public Health, that our teams could follow that tiered system. And the board, of course, approved that evening that we could do that. And you'll see on the screen just a reminder of those colored tiers and what that document looked like. So on February 19th, we actually received updated guidance from California Department of Public Health. And there are two areas that were updated in this guidance document. One area is just general guidance updates that need to be followed. And the other area allows for play of certain teams in less restrictive tiers than initially allowed. So specifically, outdoor sports that are in the red and orange tiers, according to the new guidance documents, can hold competitions regardless of the county tier status if the respective county COVID-19 adjusted case rate is equal to or less than 14 per 100,000, and if we strictly adhere to additional safety guidance. So for example, football and water polo are both outdoor high contact sports originally only allowed in the orange tier by that first set of guidance documents that you voted on previously. Under the new guidance, these two sports could participate while we're still in the purple if the adjusted case rate is at or below 14 per 100,000 and if we adhered to the additional guidance documents, and I'm going to go through what those are. So for outdoor high contact sports, which were originally only allowed in the orange, and outdoor moderate contact sports, which were originally only allowed in the red, as I mentioned, there are additional guidance documents. So these additional guidance documents apply to both those sports previously in the orange that would now be allowed and those sports previously in the red that will now be allowed. And they are supposed to be implemented to the greatest extent possible. Now you'll notice that'll be different than what I'll talk about in a minute because some of the guidance documents have to be strictly adhered to and some of them have to be adhered to the greatest extent possible, and I'll walk you through why that is. So for example, the first two, face coverings during play and physical distancing during play, well, those have to be adhered to the greatest extent possible. Obviously, football and water polo aren't going to be able to wear face coverings while they play, and they're not going to be able to physical distance just by the nature of the sport and how it's played. So what the guidance document says is that if you can't do those two things, then you can still compete if your athletes and your coaches are tested, and Laura will go through all that at the end. So there's an exception there for that. With hygiene and sanitation, really that applies to equipment and balls, for example, that are touched by multiple players during the course of the game, like with football and with water polo. So the hygiene requirements are that hand sanitation has to be used before, during, and after the competition. So when there's a break, when there's a halftime, in addition to before and after the game. Obviously limiting mixing of participants as much as possible. And then the travel considerations, those are distancing while you're in the vehicle, the bus or the van, making sure masks are worn and windows are down the entire time. In addition to that, you have to clearly communicate those travel rules to the participants and to their families. And if a family chooses to take their student athlete by car, then the guidance document has to be followed is that only those family members of that athlete are in the car. So 6 athletes couldn't go with 1 parent in a car. So those are the additional guidance in this new policy that would need to be implemented to the greatest extent possible. So those sports in the red, that were previously in the red, so those outdoor moderate contact sports, in addition to the guidance document that has to be followed to the greatest extent possible, you have to strictly adhere to one additional piece, and that is you have to have informed parental consent. So understanding that if you're having or allowing athletes to play in a lesser tier than they were originally allowed, there is increased chance of exposure, so parental consent is a strict adherence requirement in this guidance document. And those sports would be sports like baseball, softball, doubles tennis, cheerleading. So outdoor high contact sports, like I mentioned, football and water polo, those previously only allowed in the orange, in addition to the general guidance that I mentioned, you also have to strictly adhere to 2 additional pieces of guidance. One being, again, that informed parental consent, and then 2, the testing of the sports participants and the coaches on a weekly basis, and Laura Fisher will explain that portion.
Okay. As Kelly was saying, this is part of the strict adherence, which is required, and part of the parental consent would be with the parents knowing that if they're not allowing their athletes to be tested, then they wouldn't be able to participate. So it's a little different than the testing that we would be doing at the sites. So we're using the same partnership as we have with the testing at the sites through Valencia or Color is in regards to getting the same test kits, which are the same as what we'd be using at the sites. So when, as Kelly was talking about, when the adjusted case rate is between 14 and 7, which we are dropping quite a bit now, so we are getting into below 14. But between 14 and 7, it would be done weekly, at least weekly. I'm still having conversations with Dr. Kaiser when we have multiple competitions, if we have to do it multiple times during that week. It would be provided, it is self-administered. It's the nasal swab, as I've talked about before, just about an inch within each nostril. And of course, these are high school kids, so I don't think they'll have a problem with that, but we will still have staff supervising the administration of the test. It is administered when they come to practice, before they start practicing, and we would get the results back within 24 to 48 hours. So we're trying to time it looking at water polo matches and football games so that we are required to have the results within 24 hours before the competitions. So as we move through the adjusted case rates, once we get below 7, that wouldn't be required. But at this point, it would be a requirement weekly for the athletes.
Perfect, thank you. Any questions? 11.3. No, so it's only certain outdoor, so outdoor being key, only outdoor sports with moderate contact or high contact. So for example, right now, what would be allowable would be football and water polo. And then I'd have to go pull my list, but no, not yet.
No.
Because basketball's indoor,
Yeah,
so yeah,
it's
not
only
basketball.
outdoor.
Only outdoor, yes.
What about soccer? What about soccer?
I'd have to go pull my list, I'm so
Because
sorry.
I know a
can
lot
go
of
grab it, but I
girls
didn't
play
bring it up here
soccer.
with me.
I mean, I know it's not as common with the boys, except I think Indio High School has always had a strong soccer team.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about soccer.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
'Cause
sure it probably is. I'd have to
it's
go pull my
real
list.
contact, so.
Yeah, it's, exactly. So if you think about the sport, right, it's somewhat similar. It's not I mean, it can be high contact. They're running, but there's a lot of bumping into each other. And so,
It's
yeah.
high contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yes.
So I would think it would fall with football and water polo, but I wasn't sure.
Soccer's included in the moderate orange
Thank you.
tier.
Oh, interesting. That-
Considered
their-
outdoor high contact.
Yep. There you go.
And basketball is as long as it's played
Yeah,
outdoors.
you can do basketball, but it has to be
But
outdoors.
indoors it would, yeah.
I just heard her say moderate orange tier.
So remember, with this new guidance, the outdoor being key, moderate or high contact that would normally be allowed in the red or the orange now can be
It can be
allowed
in
in
the
the
red, in the
purple
purple.
if those conditions we went through are met.
Okay, so high contact and moderate contact are really the categories, but they can, all of those can be allowed in the purple as long as our case rate is the right one.
And only if they're an outdoor sport, not
Right,
indoor
none
sports.
of the indoor.
None of the indoor.
Would they ever even suggest playing basketball outdoors to get it in or not? Or that would come quickly anyway, the way the rates are dropping maybe?
It looks like the rates are dropping quickly. Yeah, we've not currently had a discussion about moving basketball outdoors, no.
Okay.
And basketball would end up being when we reach the lowest tier, the yellow, for indoor. Yeah.
I do. My question is as far as spectators. Right now,
Oh, yeah.
none are allowed, or?
Yeah, that is correct. We are not allowing spectators. The guidance document actually talks about spectators, and it talks about spectators for the purpose of supervision. So if you have to supervise your child, one person per family member would be allowed as a spectator, but that's the only allowance.
And I confirmed as we do quite a few times with Dr. Kaiser, and he was very clear on that. So it's really pretty much no, because
Right.
unless high school kids need
They don't, yeah.
parent to supervise. Yeah, and I think it's just easier. I mean, I know parents want to watch, and we're going to have it set up. I think, Kelly, or we're looking at it, would they be able to watch it?
We're talking about
Yeah.
we're exploring the option of having things live streamed, but certainly you can imagine that takes
Yeah.
a great deal of technology resources and manpower, especially if you're talking about a large field. And so we're looking at that option. But right now spectators not allowed because high school students, as Ms. Fisher said, don't need to be supervised by their parents while they're playing sports.
Because of public health mandate.
Yes.
Exactly,
Okay.
right,
Yes.
exactly.
It's too hard because we know as families, we like to sit and watch football together, and then everybody congregates, and it's fun. One day we'll be there, but.
Yeah, and remember, it's an allowance to bring something that was in a higher tier down to a lower tier. So there are still, as you saw, very strict guidelines in place to minimize any social distancing, any excessive congregating of people, because we are the current status of being in that purple tier still, but allowing those sports. You're welcome.
Linda Porras, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Dr.
you very
Vollmer,
much.
actually, before you leave the podium, just
Yes.
for point of clarification for the board will actually be entertaining an action item 19.3
that's
that
correct.
is in direct relationship with this information item.
Yes. that is
We
right.
wanted the board's blessing to pursue as many sports as we can within limitation.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Move on to the public hearing, which we don't have any, and then discussion. We have the COVID-19 discussion. Mr. Bailey, back to you.
All right, and that tells me we're at 15.1, which is a standing item for updates around our response to COVID. The board in many past meetings has made it clear that they want to take advantage of a return to in-person learning as soon as it is safe to do so. The safe to do so part is the piece we're constantly monitoring, and it's largely driven by COVID-19 county case and positivity rate data, as well as county and state public health orders and guidelines. The California Blueprint for a Safer Economy, which we all have become familiar with, has been our guide in monitoring that opportunity. As a reminder, within the four-tier blueprint, as COVID-19 case rates and positivity rates increase, so do the county restrictions and the state restrictions. Conversely, as the case and positivity rates drop, so do the restrictions. So favorably, we're headed in the right direction fast. In fact, just to remind everyone, the week of January 11th, after winter break, we were at 107.2 cases adjusted per 100,000 residents in the county. The following week, we went to 95.9. The next week, January, 77.6. Then we move into February, 62.3. February 8th, the week of, 44.9. February 15th, the week of, 28.8. February 22, most recent, we were at 16.6. And today's announcement from the county, an adjusted case rate of 11.3. So we're still in the purple a little bit on the 11.3 side with case rates, but we have reached the red on the positivity rate. So this is favorable news, and you can see that we have rapidly declining case rates, and we hope it stays that way. So under the previous blueprint guidance, which we've talked about at every board meeting, county case rates have to reach an adjusted case rate of 7 or less to get into the red tier, and positivity rates of 8 or less to be in the red tier. Okay, moving on. As shared previously, the January 2021 update to the CDPH guidelines allows California students in grades K through 6 for Desert Sands, that's our TK through 5 elementary, to return to in-person instruction once case rates fall below 25. I think most recently I used that presentation where it just had road signs. We're looking for the next available on-ramp for our students. So again, those changes in January, mid-January, to the CDPH guidelines allow us an early on-ramp, conceivably when case rates reach below 25. Additionally, the governor's proposed plan to incentivize the return to in-person learning has progressed legislatively. You may remember it was just as we went out on winter break, the governor introduced the Safe Schools for All legislation that would provide those early on-ramps with funding out of his annual budget. That legislation has progressed slowly. Now it's been formed into an Assembly Bill and a Senate Bill 86. We were told Monday that there's tentative agreement at the legislative level in Sacramento to make this bill come a reality. We expect the governor could sign the bill as received as soon as this Thursday. And what that does is provide $6.5 billion in funding for California schools to incentivize the reopening and to provide additional learning support to mitigate any learning loss moving forward. Of that $6.5 billion, $2 billion shall be apportioned for purposes related to reopening schools. School districts are eligible for these reopening funds if, and the criteria would be, first, they reopen prior to April 1st of this year. Second, have reached a county-specific case rate below 25 for 5 consecutive days. 3, have a county and state-approved COVID safety plan. And these funds will decrease at a rate of 1% per day for each day that the school district does not provide in-person instruction. School districts must provide in-person instruction on or before May 15th or otherwise forfeit all of the apportionment for their district. That's again if the governor signs this legislation. Thus, the district has, in my opinion, staged itself for the proposed action that you see this evening. It's agendized as 22.1 for the return timeline. We've been here before. As you might remember, we had put January 19th, 2021 as the date of return for hybrid originally, and unfortunately the case rates, as you could see, greatly exceeded the threshold. Therefore, here we are having the same action item tonight. In our motion, it would be for the expedient return to in-person learning for students in grades TK through 5 in the hybrid schedule with eligibility for full apportionment as per the proposed legislation. So just to recap, Desert Sands has received state approval of its COVID safety plan. I think we were one of 4 districts as of last week in the county. We've received county approval of its COVID safety plan and met the case rate threshold of under 25 cases per 100,000 residents for 5 consecutive days in the county of Riverside. Just as a side note, this transition for elementary students into the hybrid model coincides, parallels nicely, if you will, the natural transition into the last trimester. I can't believe we're saying last trimester, but it is. I think there are about 54 days of instruction left after March 15th, something of that nature. So this, again, sets the board up for a decision to take advantage of the full apportionment of funding to assist us in this endeavor. And we've met all the safety thresholds in order to be in a position to make that decision this evening. All right, let's go with Laura Fisher.
And mine transitions right in with Mr. Bailey's. As he stated, we're down to 11.3, which is the purple approaching, the real purple, approaching red. And it coincides, just like I talked about, at many of my reports, with what we're seeing as district case rates. And I like to always update, as update total from the spring, we've had 281 employees with positive COVID. We've only had 4 additional people since the last board meeting. So again, it coincides very directly with what's going on in the county and the state. Last board meeting, we'd had 7, so in the last 14 days. We used to have hundreds. So it really, well, not hundreds, but, 2 double digits. So again, it's exciting to be heading in the right direction. And as Mr. Bailey was discussing with the COVID safety plan, we were approved, and at that time we were just one of 4. I'm not sure the numbers now, and we've also been approved by the state, our COVID safety plan. So we are set. The approved plan, the final approved plan, is posted on our website. As at the time that the county adjusted rate, as I said, we were one of 4 that had been approved. Our submitted plan originally went to the county public health, Dr. Kaiser and his team. Was very comprehensive, as he said, but working through the process, the approval process, really just between Dr. Kaiser and myself was quite interesting. Our plan was good, but he had very specific items and language, all in the nature which we wanted too of health and safety. So a couple of the changes that you might have noticed from what was first put on the website is the one we submitted. Under stable group structure, we had the ratio of 14 to 2, 14 students to 2 teachers, knowing that you could have special ed teachers joining the classroom, service providers, different things. And through the approval process with Dr. Kaiser, it was very apparent he wasn't as concerned about the number of students in the classroom, whether we had a couple less or a couple more. It all was based on ensuring we had a 6-foot physical distance between student chairs. And so you'll notice on the final approved one, it was 16.2, which is really just kind of an average that we looked at across the district. But what's highly more important than the number is ensuring that every teacher has a classroom for the safety of themselves and students that have the 6-foot distancing between student chairs, not desks, because desks can be different sizes, but student chairs, and then the 6 foot between the teacher's desk and students. So the principals so far with elementary and the middle school and high school are doing the same, along with the COVID team that Mr. Kino will talk more about, have gone out and made sure that all of their classrooms meet that criteria, along with the other measurements we had in place with the plexiglass shields and different things in the rooms. So that was one of the major things that we worked through on the plan. The other one, again, was related to what I said with the stable group and distancing. Previously, it was 6 feet, but if you couldn't do that, it was a little relaxed where you could have 4 to 6 feet. But Dr. Kaiser required it to all be 6 feet, and we did that. And I think that's important in regards when we're talking about looking at the health and safety for the district. So it is 6 feet. The rest of the changes throughout the document from what we submitted and what was approved are pretty minor. just some verbiage changing and different things in the document, but definitely what Dr. Kaiser wanted to see. We have reviewed the plan thoroughly with the principals, and who in turn will continue to review with their staff. In addition, Mr. Aquino and I will be providing a live webinar for families and staff on March 9th at 6 o'clock. And it'll be one of the live webinars with Sean Webb. And will also be posted on the website and recorded so people can continue to watch. Because it'll be important for our families to be able to view that and understand what they need to do, particularly with their younger kids, to prepare them for the reopening. So that will be on the 9th. Also, we've talked about, as far as the COVID safety plan, and as Dr. Vollmer and I discussed with the athletes, is the testing. And one of the things in the new bill that Mr. Bailey was talking about is the possibility, we have not confirmed this yet, but is the possibility that if we meet the requirements in this bill, then because we are ready to open before April 1st, that asymptomatic testing may not be required. We don't know that yet. Since we're already in the under 14, instead of weekly, it will go to every other week, but there is a possibility that it would not be required for students and staff, required for us to provide. And again, I want to stress, because I've talked to several parents and understandably with questions, it is not required for your child to be tested. It is a requirement for us to offer it, but before every testing, if we do continue to do this, we are set to go, you would receive a registration and consent. And if you don't consent, your child wouldn't be tested. Okay, so I wanted to make sure, and if there's any concerns with that, to know that piece too. Okay, it is the same self-administered test as we talked about with the athletes. That's just the nasal swab. And depending on what ends up being required, once we get confirmation, and if the governor signs off on Thursday, we do have 8,000 test kits and staff to come in from a contracting agency to help the school sites do the testing. So we're ready either way. Also with our vaccine clinics, we had, as I've talked about, over 2,000 employees that had signed up. And we constantly, as we've talked about before, are communicating and meeting with virtually with public health. And as you have seen, they've really opened up a lot of their pods, their vaccine clinics, to educators. So right now, Desert Oasis, who we're partnering with, has not received an allotment, enough for our teachers, but a lot of our teachers and classified staff and people are now taking advantage of what public health is offering. And I'm sending out emails and updates every time I get them to make sure staff knows where they can get it. Because our goal is to have anyone who wants to be vaccinated as soon as possible. So I'm kind of working a two-way street. We have other partners that have said, hey, if we'll partner with Desert Oasis, when we get ours, we'll combine it, whatever you need. So we're doing that, but I'm getting a sense that we may be able to get a majority of our staff done through what's being opened through public health. We've had over 300, close to 400 staff that have emailed our school nurse email to say, hey, I already got mine, which is awesome. So we're ticking those off, so our number is going down on who would still need them. And I'm just encouraging, every opportunity for people to go out and get that vaccine. And I literally just got this before we came into the meeting from Desert Oasis, and they will now be reaching out to all Desert Sands employees who are Desert Oasis healthcare members this week to get them scheduled. So that could mean many, many more employees that will have the opportunity to get vaccinated if they're Desert Oasis. They were opening this up to all employees, but right now they have enough to do their members. And so they'll be reaching out to their members and scheduling appointments. So I feel really good that we're moving ahead. And if we do end up getting the allotment, it'll be a lot smaller, but we will provide vaccines to every employee in Desert Sands that are interested in getting one. Along with all the health and safety guidelines that we've been talking about that the district is following, that we have set up at all the sites, we also have the critical mental health issues that have occurred during this pandemic and will continue to be an important factor in our students' learning and success. And in the videos that our outstanding communication team have done with students and staff, particularly for our elementary students that are coming back first, to talk about, how you're going to walk to this, walk into the school and what's going to be different, and you're going to wear a face covering and how you're going to do that. They came up with the 4 W's, which I love. And the 4 W's, the first one is welcome. Because we really do want our kids, and I know they will be excited to come back, though it may look a little different. But the welcoming is one of the most important pieces. The other W's obviously will go along with, wear a mask and wash your hands and watch your distance. But the first one is the welcome. We'll be excited to see them, and I know they'll be excited to be back in the classroom. But we also know that there'll continue to be issues that need to be addressed with some students. And so along with what we're currently doing in providing services for kids, we are looking at the funding that Mr. Bailey was talking about to increase, personnel to have multiple services, more than what we have right now even, to provide for students and staff as we're going through this pandemic. And, I've had conversations and emails with different parents and community members, and one of them came up talking about just will the kids be able to play on the playground equipment and play together and eat lunch together. And we are. You should see the way the schools are set up, and that's one of the guidelines that public health talked about. They can play on the play structures. We have hand washing stations and hand sanitizer, out on the recess. The important thing is for them to keep their hands clean. The playground equipment will be cleaned at the end of the day, but public health knows, and we all know, and I think now our hand washing is going to be an amazing thing now that people maybe hadn't done as much of. But, kids will be able to play. Kids will be able to sit at tables, distance, but it's still going to be so exciting for them to be able to visit with their friends and be able to have that peace that they haven't had in a long time. So, again, like I said, the mental health services that we've had, continue to have, will continue to be offered, and we will expand those with some of the funding to bring in some more MFTs, interns and things to be able to support the staff. But you can see even from the Shadow Hills video, our schools are doing amazing things to continue to connect students and staff and moving forward. So now my new version of my PSA is we can't wait to welcome students, our first W, back to the school site, where they can wear a mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance, and be with their friends and teachers. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Mr. Aquino, Business Services.
Board. So I'd like to introduce Gabe Dello. You've probably all know him already. Sitting in there in the back. If you don't mind standing up, I won't make you walk to the front and embarrass you. But Gabe leads a really strong team of individuals who have been just putting in work in the district since day one. I want to mention Jessica Cahoa with our transportation department and transportation that I'll review here in a second. Joel Parks, our custodial supervisor, and Enrique Leon, our grounds. Ed Nunez and the impact team. They've been doing an excellent job putting up safety screens, addressing needs at the school sites. I also have the pleasure of introducing both Johnny Alvarez. You stand up, Johnny. Juan Alvarez and David Hinojosa in the back. So Mr. Alvarez is our district quality assurance facilitator, and Mr. Hinojosa, our electronic repair technician. Who has been reassigned to serve as another quality assurance facilitator to address COVID safety compliance. These two, in addition with our department managers and school site principals, will be ensuring our schools open successfully and with all the necessary safety precautions outlined in our district's COVID-19 safety plan for a safe transition back to in-person instruction. Right now, they are placing a heavy focus on the elementary school sites, since they contain the grade levels permitted to open based on our current adjusted case rate per 100,000 for the County of Riverside. They are reviewing 6 feet distancing requirements, floor markings to support distancing efforts, PPE supplies at the schools, availability of hand sanitizer for students, soap dispensers, safety screens in front offices, safety screens on student and teacher desks. Classrooms without sinks have wall-mounted hand sanitizer available. Portable hand washing stations are placed outdoors. The HVAC systems have been replaced with higher efficiency filtration, bipolar ionization, and that the custodians are cleaning and disinfecting nightly as part of their work schedule. So both our two gentlemen in the back and our management staff at the schools are reviewing all aspects of the safety plan and ensuring that each school site is ready. Some schools have damaged safety screens. They've either moved a HEPA filter from one classroom into an office space and students were on campus. So all of that is being addressed right now. Floor markings, bathroom markings, during their review. Schools have been supplied with a number of items, and they are ensuring, this team of individuals are ensuring that all those items are properly placed and for its intended use. So I just want to say thank you to them, and they're going to be have a big project ahead of them moving forward, in addition to maintaining the COVID compliance and safety protocols, in addition to the school startup. So I just want to say thank you to them. Previously, we purchased over 1,200 HEPA filter standalone units to go in the classrooms. I do want to add that those HEPA filters are in addition to the upgraded efficiency filters that we've installed on all the HVAC units, the MERV 13s. None of those additional measures were required, but we've done the bipolar ionization, we've done the HEPA filters, in addition to upgrading the filter. With additional funding we've received from the federal government, we purchased an additional 275 filters, HEPA units, to fill other areas. So we are now doing things like putting them in weight rooms, employee lounges, libraries, kitchens, locker rooms, office spaces, etc. So right now, I think tomorrow they're delivering 75, and then the additional 200 will be delivered within the next week. Then all of our schools will have HEPA units delivered to them to fulfill classroom use and office space use. All of our schools, as I've mentioned, have MERV 13 filters installed in all our HVAC systems. In addition, all the elementary schools have had their bipolar ionization installed on the HVAC blower units. We have the MERV 13 filters and higher efficiency filter to every building HVAC unit. We also have the bipolar ionization devices for our blowers of our HVAC units, which attack airborne particles, and the HEPA filters that are standalone units, which are even higher efficiency filters than the ones that we have on the HVAC systems that are attached to the buildings. Elementary schools have all of those mitigating measures completed. Our middle and high schools are in the process of having the bipolar ionizers installed, and most should be completed within the next couple of weeks. All schools have the MERV 13 filters, and HEPA units have been delivered to all sites with the additional 275 that I just mentioned. For the reopening of schools, to help our sites prepare, we have also allocated to our elementary schools an additional $750,000 that they just received a notification on, I think within the last couple of days. And that is going to help the schools supplement any additional expenses related to noon duty supervision, custodial substitute support, materials and supplies, PP&E, and other related startup items. Our middle schools and high schools will be receiving a proportional increase similar to what the elementaries have been receiving, just to finish out the rest of this year. So the one thing I wanted to mention about having this money available for PP&E, in the warehouse, with the COVID funds that we received this first round, we didn't know or where we would be funding-wise moving into the subsequent year. And how we were able to address that, we knew we had to be safe and cognizant that we need to have these supplies available for staff, whether it be the next 6 months or the next year. So we purchased, in addition to what the schools were purchasing, a bunch of supplies that we put in the warehouse, and we've been stockpiling that. And our warehouse has been inundated with a number of supply items that we have on ready for the following year and then the year after that. That has been a task on its own, and I want to thank Nancy Levruski for making a huge push and her staff on getting all the supplies ready, in addition to Ricky over in the warehouse. But we decided we are going to send all of that to the schools. So starting Thursday all the way to Wednesday, we are sending every single supply that we have for our schools, which is based on a formula, out to every school. What that's going to do is, starting for next year, in addition to this year, they're going to be able to plan effectively, because the funding that we've allocated to them is just to finish out this year. We're going to be giving them a new set of funding to help them with their planning for the following year. And they will be notified of that funding in the middle of March. But they'll know exactly all the supplies that the district has given them, and they can plan accordingly. We give our schools a lot of autonomy on how they spend money, their funds. Just as an example, for Ford, what they'll be getting delivered is 15 boxes of 50 fabric masks. This is for employees. 55 box of 50 disposable masks for employees. 150 face shields with drapes, 250 face shields without the drape, so they have to wear a mask with that. 235 16.9 ounce hand sanitizer, and a huge box of gloves. So all of that is going to be, that's just one school in addition. So they will be receiving those under their regular deliveries that they get every week. For student masks, Ford, as an example, will be receiving 1,910 fabric masks, 17,650 disposable masks. Our middle and high schools, in addition, as an example, they will also be receiving a proportional size as far as the allocation goes to the elementary schools, or as the example that I gave you with Ford. Middle schools and high schools will also be receiving these sanitizing buckets. So what that is we are going to place those in every classroom, similar to what you see when you go to the grocery store and they have a bucket. Sometimes it's empty. We'll make sure ours isn't. And you have a sanitizing wipe. It is not a disinfectant. You cannot allow students to use disinfectant. That's part of the Healthy Schools Act. And they could take the wipe down their desk, whatever it is that they want to wipe down, and do the same thing likewise on the way out. So as an example, La Quinta High School will be receiving 80 buckets to put in every classroom, in addition to 640 wipe rolls, and each wipe roll contains 1,200 wipes. So the schools will also, they will get all these supplies from us, but they will receive funding on the back end that they could purchase more of based on their needs. So that is with the supplies. We are also shifting the meal delivery service to Wednesday only when we open up in the hybrid. And that will be to help eliminate traffic at school sites. So we'll be providing the meals to the community on a Wednesday, which is during the day of asynchronous instruction. All of our schools will be receiving approximately 70% of their table capacity that they have now. And if you go to some of the schools, have been strategically placing these tables throughout the campus. We have 2 schools that we just finished on the delivery today. That was Hoover and Franklin. We were anticipating that only 5 schools, if we were to theoretically open on March 15th, there'd be about 5 elementary schools that would not receive those tables in time for opening. But the vendor did agree to work on Saturday and Sunday, so we're adding an additional 4 days worth of deliveries. So with those additional 4 days, we believe all the schools will have them by March 15th. As Mr. Bailey was mentioning, I think the district did an excellent job positioning itself for this reopening, this grant that the governor has worked with the legislature. It was an estimate of a $2 billion proposal. That has a revenue benefit to the district of about $8.6 million. Now, depending on where we're at with regards to our student testing, we do have to be very cognizant of the cost associated with the testing requirement, and that is part of why they're giving us this in-person grant. But if we get into a position where we're in the red or whatever, that's great, because we're now going to be receiving these funds and probably not have this requirement to do the weekly testing like we're supposed to do under the purple tier. And why do I bring that up is under the purple tier, it costs, if we open at K5, $278,000 to test our students on weekly. That's assuming all students were to take the test. If we were to do that based on the number of students who said they will return under the hybrid instruction, if we were doing bi-weekly testing for our K-12 students, that is a cost of $643,000 each of those weeks that we would have to test. And that is only based on 16,900 students who said they want to return. Just to give you the magnitude of what that means to the district budget, if we only had 16,944 students saying that they were going to return all of next year, and we have this testing requirement that carries forward, let's just say in theory, throughout the whole year next year, if you take 180 days, divide that by 5 days a week, you get 36 weeks. With bi-weekly testing, that means 18 weeks, or half of that. And if you take those 18 weeks, times that by $38 a test, times that by 16,944 students under the hybrid model, that's $11.6 million that we would be obligated to cover for the COVID testing. So that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aquino. Appreciate it. Dr. Salazar, Personnel Services, any updates?
Good evening, trustees. My report is much shorter than Mr. Aquino's. Personnel has been working since August to meet all the particular staffing needs for hybrid instruction. And tonight, Mr. Hill, the gentleman in the white shirt back there in the corner, is here. I just wanted to give him some acknowledgement for the incredibly meticulous work he's done with all of our principals and going through their staffing and meeting the needs of our employees who have asked for accommodations. We have been able to accommodate 208 of our staff members with distance assignments. We also have a good pool of guest teachers who have indicated a willingness to support us during hybrid instruction. And we are continuing to hire new guest teachers on an ongoing basis. You'll see some of them on the agenda tonight. We also have contracted with an outside group as a backup plan, a backup plan that will provide additional supervision at our school sites during hybrid instruction, because there's probably going to be a lot of necessary adults on campus to make sure the kids are staying apart and following all the safety guidelines that we have in place. And we are ready to welcome our students and our employees back to our classrooms under the hybrid instructional model. If and when the board determines that they're ready to start, we're ready to meet that need with the staff.
Thank you, Dr. Salazar. And to wrap it up, last cabinet member, Dr. Kelly Mae Vollmer.
Okay, hello again. A couple of pieces of information that I want to update the board on. One is a communication timeline that has been developed for our elementary schools. And of course, this is contingent upon the board's decision tonight, but with the potential start date of March 15th, we developed a timeline for notifications that need to go out. So last week, the week of February 22nd, parents were notified via a phone call from School Messenger that they could check Parent View to see which cohort their child had been placed in, cohort A or cohort B. So of course that's just for the students that are coming back in the hybrid model. And so that can be found, in case anyone's listening and still wants to know, that can be found under the student information screen. By clicking additional information, you can see the cohort that your child has been placed in. And then moving into the week of March 1st, today we had a training on the safety plan by Laura Fisher and Jordan Aquino with all of our principal groups, our elementary, our middle, and our high, walking them through that entire plan. And potentially, again, depending on the board's decision tonight, we have a informational session that will be hosted tomorrow night by Superintendent Bailey in Cabinet, going over information primarily for the community, but for staff as well. So we'll be looking at really an overarching timeline of what's coming next, talking to parents about if there are requests for schedule changes, if they chose hybrid, but they would prefer to be on distance learning, how that really is dependent upon space, just like at the beginning of the school year. However, principals are creating waiting lists if that becomes necessary. We'll also be talking about mask wearing, and I'm sure Ms. Fisher will be going over the 4 W's, which is very exciting. And then following that presentation this week as well, principals will follow up in one of the following days, and they'll have information that goes out from the site level. So they'll be reiterating some of that information, talking about testing, mask wearing, but they'll also walk parents through how the transition will go And so how can they anticipate if their, excuse me, if their child does have a change in teacher, what that will look like, when they'll say goodbye to them, when they'll meet the new teacher. We've really designated, again, contingent upon the board's decision, designated March 8th as a transition week. It's really an opportunity for students to meet their new teacher, if they have a new teacher, for the class to understand in a virtual environment, they'll still be meeting virtually, but understand what the expectations are for school, be able to talk through all that. And then additionally, at that communication from principals, they'll really be talking to parents about even the expectation for the 2 teacher preparation days that will happen prior to us coming back in hybrid. And actually this evening, either this evening or first thing tomorrow morning, depending on when it goes out, all of the teachers in our elementary schools are being given the opportunity to share their preference of when they would like those teacher preparation days to be, is to best meet their needs. So we'll look at those results, and based on what they are, that's how we'll determine when those 2 teacher preparation days will be. And then moving into, or at the end, excuse me, at the end of the week on March 5th, this Friday, those new teacher assignments will be made available and families will be able to see what those were, or what those are, excuse me. And those will be located in the same area on Parent View that the cohort information is located in. And then moving into the week of March 5th, as I mentioned, that's a transition week, and so really an opportunity for students to meet their new teacher. And the trimester ends on March 5th. So starting with those new classes on March 8th really is imperative for syncing all the digital technology and different things like that because of the way Synergy loads and class list load and our digital curriculum loads. It's the end of a trimester, so it's an easy break. Otherwise, you get a mix-up with start dates and end dates and those students that didn't switch teachers and those teachers that did and how that all syncs. It becomes very convoluted. So having that week of the 8th as a transition week is really important. And as I mentioned, in that week, the week of March 8th, teachers will have 2 preparation days. They'll meet with their students briefly in the morning, get them set up to work asynchronously for those 2 days. And we'll decide based on the form what teachers' feedback is when those 2 days will be that week, and we'll be letting families know. Also, the week of March 8th, as Laura Fisher mentioned, her and Mr. Aquino will be going through the school safety plan on the 9th, and that'll be available for community members and staff members. And then, just like the previous week, principals will do a follow-up communication that will go out following their training, and that will have more site-specific information as it pertains to safety, entrances, exits, how meals will be distributed, where they'll be eating, really reinforcing that at this time we can't have extra visitors on campus. Also talking about drop-off and pickup and how that maybe has changed because of needing to bring kids in, and then talking about how devices will go back and forth. So all that'll come out from the sites that week of March 8th, of course with the potential start date of March 15th. And then the only other thing that I wanted to update you on, you'll remember previously there was an agenda item that was approved for us to have a partnership with FEV Tutoring, Focus Educational Virtual Tutoring. And so we'll be having a family information night that will be broadcast on YouTube, and that'll be on March 4th at 5:30 p.m. And that's just to inform parents how they can utilize those services. And just as a reminder, that's really a 3-pronged approach to offering services to our families that may be struggling. It's 24/7 tutoring if they need that. We also will have one-on-one tutoring that will be designated based on data. We'll be identifying those students that we believe need extra help and letting Bev Tutoring know, as well as the family, so a connection can be made for additional support, and then support during summer school as well. And that's my update.
Thank you, Dr. Vollmer. That concludes our remarks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bailey. We'll now move on to 16, public comment on open session items. I'll turn that over to Anna Conover.
Thank you. Communications from the floor in accordance with bylaws of the board 9323. Time is reserved for oral communications by members of the Board of Education or by citizens present. Citizens wishing to be heard on agenda items shall have a 3-minute limit and should indicate their intention at this time. In accordance with the law, decisions of the board cannot be made on any matter not previously published before the board meeting, as indicated in bylaws of the board 9323.2. I will start off reading the online public comments. The first one is from Dana Stenzel. All students deserve the ability to have in-person instruction. I feel like limiting the return to school to only elementary students is discriminatory to middle and high school students who need in-person instruction just as much as younger students. Older students are falling into serious depression because they are not in school. There are higher rates of depression, cutting, and suicide among older students. Limiting this initial return to only younger students is unfair. These older students need in-person instruction to help prepare them for college as well as life after graduation. They are getting lost. We cannot afford to lose this generation of young minds. The next one is by Belen Zamora. I am a parent that has a second grader that attends your school district. My son is a special needs child and has been struggling with virtual learning. I am glad to hear that the schools are reopening up soon. I still feel that 2 days of instruction time is not sufficient, as my son has regressed due to this only learning. I would like to ask for the school to have all children attend school 5 days a week. It is extremely important to have our kids in school every day matters. Virtual learning for many children and special needs kids doesn't work. Thank you for your time, Belen. Next one is from Carissa Frotz. I would appreciate the opportunity to switch from hybrid to distance learning. A lot has changed since we had to make our decision. Health conditions have come up for me since the decision, and I would appreciate the opportunity to switch my child to distance learning. I know there is a lot involved, but if we have a medical concern and can't get a vaccine yet, we should be able to choose. The next one is from Christine Rodart. Please, please, please get our kids back to school. The daily struggle to get kids up and ready to learn is real. The disinterest, the depression, the stress is real. If there is a decision to be made as to which grades go back first, I hope you will bring back the seniors first. This is it for them, and it would be so great for them to be together for final couple months of high school. The next one is from Amy Lindham. To whom it may concern, I am a parent of a child that goes to James Monroe Elementary School. I am deeply concerned at this change that is about to take place for our children. Mrs. Joyner states in her emails to us that there are only X number of precious school days left. I totally agree with her. It is a critical time of year in the students' academic learning, and it already has been challenging due to COVID-19. I just wanted to let you know how I feel about this change. Some kids going back to the classroom and some remaining in distance learning. Yes, I am fully aware that we as parents were provided a choice for our children to decide whether or not they would or would not be going back to the classroom. The problem is that there is not much schooling left for this school year, and now you want to change up all the teachers? My son will not have a single teacher the same that he has had since the start of school. How can this be beneficial? How will the teachers that are assigned to teach these students, whether it's distance learning or hybrid, be able to help new students that they know little of or if anything about? It's upsetting as a parent to see your child tear up because some kids are going back to school and your child isn't. Why can't we just stay the course and stay with the teachers we have connected with through blood, sweat, and tears? Thank you for taking the time to hear my concerns. Sincerely, Amy Lindham. The next one is from Laura Kramer. I am an elementary school education teacher. I look forward to working with my students in person. Virtual learning has been tremendously challenging for my students, families, and me. I am also a nurse, so I've already been fully vaccinated. I worry about those who haven't. I also worry that parents don't fully understand the hybrid model. It seems that many think we can just open our doors to fewer kids and space them out, but it's so much more than that. We are not their parents. We cannot monitor what kids do in restrooms or stop kids from running up and hugging friends, from leaning around their plexi barriers, etc. Remember, some kids have never been to school before, and those returning haven't had these kinds of restrictions, and kids will be kids. Comparisons to stores, restaurants, or private schools aren't applicable. Kids act differently when away from parents at school. They aren't asked to sit for extended periods behind a barrier and perform challenging tasks in stores and restaurants. Private schools have recourse for those who don't follow rules and do not have to enroll kids with special needs behavior issues, or those just released from juvenile hall, public schools do. Imagine unleashing 300 pre-K 5th grade kids in Lowe's without their parents and see if they'd stay on the dots, socially distanced, and keep their masks on. That's what we're facing. I'm afraid that in the fervor to return kids to school, the impact on their schooling was lost. Parents told the board they don't want their kids, teachers, or classes to change, but that's exactly what's happening. Some teachers are teaching combo classes, a new grade level, or huge virtual classes. There will be transition time with a slower learning pace as students or staff get to know each other and adapt to new teaching styles, routines, procedures, classmates, expectations. Many students are abruptly being ripped from teachers and friends they've bonded with, and all for just 21 days in person. Worth it? The next one is from Genesis Asensio. My daughter attends Oliphant Elementary, and according to their administration, you are not able to change your child from hybrid to distance learning if you chose the hybrid option in the survey months prior. However, as a parent, I still do not feel that it is safe for my child to return to school. Would I be able to change my daughter from hybrid to distance learning? Number 10, from Suzanne Huber. I come to you today as an educator, parent, and a voice for the many children in our district. Every day, all of us do our best to ensure the students of DSUSD receive the highest level of instruction. This past year has seen what incredible effort and teamwork can produce when under immense stress and change. We are here today to plan for the biggest transition of all, but it is being treated as the easiest through a rush of decisions and the lack of information. Teachers have been told we will have our new students on March 8th. Where did this date come from, and why the rush? This is abject failure, and it is unacceptable. Because of the grading period change, the report card due date change, and the requirements to be iReady compliant, we have had less than half the normal time for assessments. In TKK, assessments and diagnostics are not at the same rate as the upper grades. These young children seem to constantly be overlooked. Yet we are required to hold conferences, plan for a new class, and prepare the youngest and most vulnerable students for the biggest change of the year. The consistency and structure they have come to depend on is now turning on a dime with little concern for the impact it creates. There is no reason to rush and forget why we are doing this. We are going back to classroom instruction for the benefit of the students. Why would we suffer a failure of pre-planning if we are doing this to make the students' life better? Let the March 15 date stand, but do not push us to figure things out in the next 3 school days. We have too much on our plates. The district hasn't just put more on our plate, they exchanged the dinner plate for a saucer. Things are constantly falling, and we have to come to grips that there is no time to work on what has dropped. It is impossible to make sound educational decisions for our students under these conditions. Give us time and tools to properly prepare. Next is Heather Gray. The district has been eagerly pushing to reopen, but they are forgetting the most neglected employees in the district, sub-teachers. Guest teachers have not received a pay increase in over 5 years, since before I joined as a sub-teacher. We are currently paid pitiful wages. In many other districts, guest teachers receive yearly pay raises and are provided other decent benefits such as paid time off and sick time. Unfortunately, DSUSD does not value the work that guest teachers do, despite the fact that they are essential to school operations and student success. The district is in desperate need of recruiting and retaining guest teachers, and everyone knows it. Ask any school secretary and principal, but for some reason, personnel services and the directors have failed to act. When I don't have an assignment on ASOP, the system calls me every minute, which shows how desperate you are for sub-teachers. If you expect guest teachers to be sacrificial lambs to in-person teaching, then you should increase their pay, which you haven't done in several years. Considering the additional federal funding and state funding to reopen schools, which you should be receiving shortly, you cannot expect sub-teachers to continue giving 100% for $135 a day. We are sick, tired, and struggling to make ends meet. For DSUSD, sub-teachers are cheap labor, workers to be exploited, ignored, and remain unseen. We urge you to protect and care for students by protecting and caring for the well-being of sub-teachers. That is it for online. And first, we will have Trina Gonzalez Alisi.
Good evening, Cabinet and Board. I feel like it was just yesterday that I was up here. Ms. Jonathan, it's very nice to see you in person. I wanted to talk a little bit about a school site visit that I was able to go to today at one of our elementaries, and I'm going to say the name because I'm super proud. It's Franklin Elementary. And I know that many of you had an opportunity to walk that campus as well, and it looks spectacular. It looks ready to go. I too want to give a shout out. I know the gentlemen have already left, but I want to give a shout out to the facilities department and everything that they have done to put everything in place to be as ready as we possibly can for a situation that we never imagined. DSTA sent out a really short survey very quickly just to find out, because a lot has happened in the last several days, right? Like it changes every day. So we just wanted to get a feeling really quickly of what our elementary educators were concerned about. The one question that we asked was, your biggest concern about reopening while we're still in the purple? Some of the common comments were having less learning time with students in a hybrid model, also inconsistent enforcement of safety protocols among administration, and that keeps coming up as a topic, so we really need to work on that. Next question, what is your biggest concern over the quality of education in hybrid? The comment was more time spent on teaching safety protocols than the actual content. And then for our elementary schools that do departmentalize, they're not able to departmentalize. Third question, what is your biggest concern about workload in the hybrid? And that is having to create 2 sets of lessons for every day. So you're a hybrid teacher, you're teaching cohort A on Monday and Tuesday, that's in front of you, but you also have made plans for cohort B that is at home on those days. So you have to make 2 sets of plans. I've received, as I'm sure you have, I've received hundreds of emails over since last week, I would say, hundreds of emails. And some of them have information in it that I know can't possibly be true. I know that there are the things that have been reported to me, a number of combo classes, and when we think of a combo class, we kind of think of half and half, but there are combination classes with 4 students in one grade that are placed into another grade because that's how they've handled the schedule. That's what I'm being told. I hope that that's not true. In the distance learning classes, I got a list of elementary, this is from one school. One TKK combo class has 35 students in it in distance learning. You can't see 35 faces on the screen at once. First grade has 27, third grade has 33, fourth grade has 34, fifth grade has 35. This is all on distance learning. So I hope that you can look into that because I hope that that's not happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ursula Leguillo.
Okay, I didn't break it. Good evening. In conjunction with my previous statement at the last board meeting, I want to spread positivity. And I want to thank all employees of Desert Sands for all their hard work and dedication this far and all the work coming. The next few weeks will take teamwork to prepare our schools for reopening. Some of the challenges I have been made aware of as CSEA Chief Union Job Steward. 1, more custodial support is needed at each school site. Being in a pandemic, the need to disinfect properly is vital. Some sites only have 1 custodian, as in our Head Start preschool program. So who will disinfect the restrooms during the day if students have an accident? The mentality of having the paraeducators clean the restrooms at any site needs to be removed. The ideal solution would be to have 2 day custodians and 2 night custodians. There are 80 custodial subs available that we could use. Mr. Aquino stood up here and spoke on how allocations were given to each school site. So I would hope that the principals and admin will hire more custodial help. Second, isolation rooms. Who's going to be responsible for the isolation room? Our office staff, our AAs, our office assistants, our health tech, our school nurse. As classified employees, we have answered the call and have been in the trenches since day one and will continue to do so. Living in a pandemic, everybody's actions can impact somebody else, and we need to have our students and staff safe. I want to thank the board. Through much opposition, you have made tough choices to ensure that we are all safe, and I am grateful for that. Now with reopening, let's make the picture that we paint when we have administrators up here saying that we have this and we have that in place. Make the picture a reality and working together to make sure we have all resources in place to ensure safety. In closing, I would like to thank my CSEA union for making sure that all classified employees return to work with protection. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Catherine Silvera.
As our district, the district reaping the most benefits of privilege in this valley, unlocks our gates, I want to talk about trust. But first, I want to tell you about a story that happened almost exactly a year ago today when a toilet broke at Ford Elementary. This happens all the time at schools. However, for 2 months, this toilet remained broken. Leaking water flooded the bathroom and into the walkways. A very strong, noxious fume came out of that bathroom and into the classrooms nearby. 2 months, classrooms were filled with a smell of sewage, and that bathroom became nearly unusable. However, students were still forced to use this bathroom. A solution was a portable hand washing station set outside. A station made for adults, meaning that the kinders and first couldn't actually push the button to work, or the water inside was too pungent and the kids refused to use it. I should remind you, this was 2 weeks prior to all schools closing down due to the pandemic, and here were kinders to third graders unable to wash their hands properly. Parents, teachers, and school administrators were all told over and over that parts were being ordered. Finally, at the end of February, we parents stepped in. It took a coalition of parents contacting this district, and the very next day, that toilet was replaced and the floors had to be treated for black mold. Now, why did I tell you this story? It reflects the lack of trust that many of us have in the system and the lack of accountability. We hear you spend more than half the school year on plans and protocols. You tell us the requirements that students and staff have to remain in this hybrid learning plan, and yet you couldn't fix a bathroom for 2 months without us parents. How can we trust that this COVID safety plan be followed? What accountability have you set up? Is there a reporting system where parents, teachers, or students can report when protocols are not being followed? Now, how can this trust be earned? Prohibit complacency, add accountability, and make sure everything that you have promised us for these past months actually happened. You can earn this trust also by addressing the mental health needs of our children and educators. For example, our elementary schools have one counselor at the school site. That's one counselor for 700 to 800 students, and that counselor has instructional duties on top of their mental health care. Now, you say we're opening gates due to our decline in our children's mental health? Well, earn our trust and show it. How can we trust you with our children when there isn't even enough support staff to keep our children mentally and physically safe? And what about the families who chose distance learning? How to gain their trust? By not forgetting about them. Do not make these educators and children second rate. You need to continue to address the challenges this model has, increase your support services for the students, and provide resources for the teachers and provide the best education for both models. The public education system requires trust both ways. Teachers need to trust that their contributions be respected and the workplace be safe. Parents and guardians need to trust that our children will be provided with a broad, comprehensive education and a safe environment. Superintendent Bailey, board, please don't lose our trust with this. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Nicole Demke, who's giving her time to Allison Sear.
Good evening. My name is Allison Sear, and I am the elementary director for DSTA, a committee member for LCAP. You are training me to be a trainer of trainers for restorative practices. I'm a third grade teacher at Lyndon B. Johnson Elementary School, and I serve on our site's School Site Council, PTO, ASB, Social Committee, Leadership Team, and I am the 2021 California State Teacher of the Year. Why am I speaking to you tonight? Well, I am here on behalf of all of the staff members that want to quit, and I can't fix it for them, but I can be here and be their voice. So first, I want to thank you to everyone. Over the last year, I have watched everyone do the best that they can do with what they are given, just like our students. Everyone's best looks different, and it is no one's position to judge you on how you are doing. Just like the saying, never judge a person until you have walked a mile in their shoes, or be kind to everyone because everyone you meet is fighting a different battle. Well, guess what? Unless we are all 100 years old here, no one person has walked through a global pandemic. This is trial and error on everyone's part. No one person or position is exempt. For the last year, I have watched board meetings and have seen when people have spoken and done the blame game. I can assure you everyone wants to return to normal. However, what is normal? Instead of standing here and saying, me, just stop. Maybe you have not been affected by this one bit. Congratulations, you are the minority. The majority of us have been affected, from losing family members and friends, hospital visits, loss of business, and the list can go on and on. This is not about one person, this is about all of us. We truly need one another in order to make this successful. We are a puzzle, and if one of us breaks down, we are all affected. We choose how we show up. If every day we all wake up mad about the situation, what did we accomplish? We have to have an attitude adjustment. No pointing fingers. We have to show up ready to look for what is going on that is right. I feel sorry for those who have found nothing good from this pandemic. There is something good in every day. A daily win doesn't have to be something drastic. Sometimes a daily win can be the smallest glimmer of hope. Maybe it was that a child got up on time. Maybe that they lasted 30 minutes before a breakdown. Maybe they read in class. They attempted an assignment. There are daily wins every day. If we eat, have shelter, clothes on our back, and a place to sleep, we are richer than 75% of this world's population. We are providing an education to our children. Yes, there are bumps in the road, but we are doing it. Do you know how many people worldwide would love to even have a chance at getting an education over the internet, maybe even if it's not so great Wi-Fi? Distance learning has been a challenge, but so is teaching in person. Learn and grow from it. I personally don't want to hear anyone else say that this is a learning loss of a year. It breaks my heart for everyone who has said that their child has missed out. I can assure you that just as every year before, there are gains and there are losses. The majority of us, teaching staff, district, union, custodians, tech, security, everyone is working harder than meets the eye, not just work-wise, but emotionally. Trust me, I understand that things are constantly changing. However, there has to be some mutual respect. Over the last several weeks, especially, I have heard more stress on everyone's part. As a teacher we received word that the proposed date would be March 15th, only to find out that 3 days later that it might actually be on the 8th and virtually. We were told that we would have to move grade levels, report cards were due earlier. We would be teaching our new classes while given our prep days. Our virtual teachers are upset, our hybrid teachers are upset, principals are caught in the middle, the superintendents are making minute-to-minute decisions. Welcome to a teacher's world. Parents have no idea what is about to hit them, depending on the school, because the information is being told at different times. Some found out over the news that starting school would be a possibility and not from our district. There has become a lack of communication on everyone's part, and no one party is to blame. It is everyone. So I understand that we cannot change the past. However, we can make improvements on all parts, do our part, and communicate how we are supposed to. I want to see mutual respect between all parties. The most heartbreaking thing is to hear teachers call me crying or emailing me that they are in tears and they feel that they are less than. That is why I'm speaking today. For the teacher, the custodian, the security guards, the principals, everyone who is feeling like they are not good enough and that their feelings do not matter. School is not a business. It is relationships. However, those relationships need to be fostered and valued. No one in this room is less than or above another. We are all enough and all should be treated with respect. So with that respect, I don't know is no longer an acceptable answer. If a student says, I don't know in class, we guide them to the right answer. Well, in a pandemic, there might not be a right answer. However, we are allowed to feel how we feel. Where we need to take a step back is what we are saying and how we are saying it. There needs to be a grace period. I truly believe no day is perfect, but every day has its perfect moments. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Nicholas Rose.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board and members of cabinet. I wanted to begin tonight on a personal note. I have 2 elementary school age children here at Desert Sands, and as our county COVID numbers have dropped the past few weeks, I'm excited about the potential to begin hybrid learning. For the parents at home and the teachers who have been doing their best via Zoom and using all available distance learning tools, you are all amazing. The pandemic has demanded a lot from all of us, and many have paid the ultimate price. So while this is a moment to reflect on where we've been and where we want to go, it is not yet a moment to let our guard completely down. Classified employees are excited to welcome back students, but they also have concerns about PPE and managing the isolation rooms on campus and just the consistency of the safety plan and having it followed at each site. Our executive board held an impromptu safety plan informational meeting via Zoom last Friday night, and it was attended by around 80 to 85 members for about an hour and a half on a Friday night. So I wanted to thank those members for giving their time and being committed to our students and to our safe return. Our new negotiations team met with the district on February 25th, and we finalized the classified specialist MOU, which will bring some more members into our bargaining unit, and discuss some items of concern for transportation, school site monitors, paraeducators, and security for a hybrid reopening MOU. As you may know, the classified contract expires June 30th, and we'll have a full successor agreement to negotiate over. And I'm confident that future negotiation sessions will be as productive. The federal government and our California state government are committing millions of dollars to our schools to safely reopen, and our DSUSD classified employees are ready to step up for our students. So let's do it, but let's use those funds wisely. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Faustina Sevilla.
Good night, everybody. I was here the last time that you guys held the board meeting, and I spoke about the importance of bringing our kids back to school and how I felt that you guys were lacking in doing better for our kids. And I came again today. I mean no disrespect to anyone, but I feel that that's what us parents have been getting from the board, especially from the lady behind me. This lady here who, when I was here at the last board meeting, stared me down because of me not wearing the proper mask. Now, She needs to go back and find some empathy because she doesn't know why I'm not able to wear that mask that she so desires for me to have. So shame on her. Shame on you for doing that. She stared me down, and if I was a different type of person, I would not have spoken after that because of how she looked at me, but I did. And I'm not here doing it for me. So all of those saying, oh, stop the me, I'm not doing it for me. My child is doing well in online learning. I'm doing it for all the other kids that don't have the capability to have a parent that speaks English, the capability of having a good online provider, the capability of having their parent be there when they need them because their parent has to work. And all I keep hearing here is about money, 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 money. And is that all that matters? Is that how you feel about our kids? Is there just a dollar sign to you? I mean, the disrespect that I feel is the lack of transparency from everyone here towards the parents. We have not been given the truth of anything, in my opinion. So what's gonna happen with the remainder of the funds? Who's gonna get that? Are the teachers gonna get money? Who is getting the money? We keep talking about the testing, yes, it's not gonna be a requirement. Then therefore, you're not gonna be using all those funds for testing, so where is the money gonna go to? So every time I hear a meeting via online, or the two that I've been present, it's like it's all about money. That's all that matters, it seems, and it's really sad to feel this way as a parent that our kids don't seem to matter. So we need transparency. When are all our kids gonna be back? Then we are told that we are kind of barking on the wrong tree. Well, as far as I know, every employer has a problem-solving policy, and for me, we're not barking on the wrong tree. We came to you guys for help, and have you guys even written letters to the governor or to Mr. Perez or to Mr. Garcia to try to have them change their tiers or do something for our kids? I don't think that's happened, which is unfortunate. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tricia Ryan.
Hi, nice to see you all again. And I also appreciate, as a staff member that does go to my school site daily, I appreciate all that has been done. And I have been going there daily since the start of school, and there has been a tremendous amount of work, and I really appreciate all that's been done there. I'm also a stakeholder. I'm a parent, as you all know, of a senior. And he's been to the board meetings. I've come to almost every single one, not December, but all the others. And my husband has also attended, and he attended also as an employer who has employees severely impacted by their parents having to work. And he's in agriculture, so it has been very challenging. And so we do see all sides of it. My son is doing very well academically. So I keep coming as a teacher and as a parent, but also as a community member to speak out for those that can't be here. And again, my husband, has many employees that have Desert Sands kids. So I just want to kind of say that when I come and speak at these meetings, that is, I'm speaking from my heart and from my experience, 28 years here and 2 years in McFarland. I also wanted to just kind of go out to the part about youth sports. At the last meeting, you guys talked about how great it was to be able to go to the Shadow Hills Indio cross country track meet, which was awesome. And I wanted just to remind everybody that the California Department of Health guidance on February 23rd does allow for youth sports to have spectators, immediate families. It exactly says youth sports may include observers who are immediate household members during practice and competition. That's on February 23rd. I can send that in tomorrow. Then CIF on February 20th
Rob Wygood, said California Department of Health guidelines recommend and allow what we call immediate family. So it is clearly stated that spectators should be allowed at these events. As a three-sport senior, having a three-sport senior, he's already had to make adjustments. He can't cohort between the two sports, tennis and football, are at the same time. So he has had to make a decision. He sat out today's tennis match so that he doesn't, make both teams ineligible. So and we as a family have been very serious to be safe for the community. So we've done our part. Please allow us to give support our youngest son. And I know all the other parents feel this way too. My phone has been blowing up about it. So we just want to say, please allow the spectators. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Kimberly Hetherington.
Hi, I don't have anything written up tonight, but I always get inspired by what I hear in the room. And it's great to see Wendy Jonathan in attendance. I've been, looking forward to seeing the full board here. Frontline healthcare workers, they don't get a hazard pay. And a lot of them didn't get a pay raise. They just showed up for work. They had to. I already hear everything underlying, you can read it as you wish, but clearly this is about money as well. And there's a lot of backbone to funding schools. We all know this. There's a lot of money for special education students too. So I'm not getting any of that money. And so as a parent, I am gonna let you know that I am gonna keep working for school choice, and I'm gonna go at the policy center. I've already been on the radios. I am gonna keep pushing for this because you all need to help us with government levels as well, because you are all publicly vetted positions here too. So, there doesn't need to be any, references to angry people, shaming people. All you need to do is look back at all of the public record of what has been said, and you know who said it. It's all there. I vouch for what I've said. I don't like spreading misinformation. I want people to know that they have rights, and it has nothing to do with my political core values. It's just, that we used to teach all of this in school too. Constitutional rights, those are important. And if we don't see that there's a problem with public education and where it's going with the California Teachers Association, we got more serious problems coming back at us. So I'm here to implore you all to please, yes, let's get your teachers happy as well. I'm not saying that people don't deserve a pay raise, I have to raise my prices, cost of living demands, it is what it is. But I'm also gonna need childcare. And I, to this day, don't know any plan for YMCA childcare at the school sites. That is very important because parents do work. We need to work. We should not be shaming people that need to work. You have a choice to stay home and do distance learning, do it. It's great. If that works for you, it's great. It does not work for my son. It does not. I have to stop my workday every day at 1, or I have to pay for childcare outside of childcare he already has, that I'm very grateful for, very grateful. I'm grateful for y'all being here and doing a terrible, decision on what, seems most obvious to most, that we have to open our schools. All of them, all grades, all schools, please. Let's vote for this today too. You're gonna get funding, you're gonna dwindle down by a percentage per day as of April. Should open all schools then.
Thank you. And that is all the comments.
Thank you, Ms. Conover. We will now go to superintendent comments. So we'll start with Tricia Pierce.
I was happy to see the plan for the DSUSD athletics and the lessening of some of the tier restrictions for the students to be able to participate. I think that's so important for the kids that can do that, and for the way they're trying to fit most all of the sports into this last chunk of time of the school year, especially for the seniors. I was also happy to hear on the COVID-19 responses from the assistant superintendents and I toured the school today, this evening with the board as well, to see all of the workings of the safety measures that were in place and the way so many parts and protocols and procedures that were figured out in order to help manage the kids for their eating of breakfast out of the classroom, which I hadn't known before today, for the spacing and actually seeing the makeup of the classroom and the 16-to-1 number. All those things I felt really good about, to see that it was actually in action instead of just hearing these updates and things. One thing I was happy to hear that all the teachers were able to be accommodated for their health concerns to teaching distance learning versus hybrid. And I do hear the parents that are saying that they had to choose, I think back in September, for what they would want, and some of them are having changes due to the things that have happened in the last 4 months or 5 months, and I do believe that they should be accommodating. I don't think it's going to be a ton of people, but I know there are some that would want to. In fact, this one school that I visited tonight, it seems that probably 4/5 of the school numbers of that school, 570 kids, 80%, I guess 4/5 would be, 80% of the kids want to come back in hybrid learning, and about 20% are going to be at home. And that particular school didn't have to switch anybody out of a grade level and stuff. I realize that depending on the parents of certain schools, that's not the makeup of some of it. And there has to be some trade-off when the schools are trying to accommodate teachers and kids and siblings at different locations with different cohorts, that I believe they've done a good job matching, and that hopefully they will take case-by-case consideration to accommodate the parents. I'm glad to hear that they're going to be going over the school safety plan in detail, at least making it available to parents with the webinars coming up on, maybe I heard March 9th. I was disappointed that, vaccines everywhere were messed up as far as delivery. I don't know, it was the ICE thing or whatever in Texas or whatever, but, I really thought that most teachers would have their first dose by the last week in February, and then they would get their next dose in mid-March or the fourth week in March, depending on the vaccine, of 3 to 4 weeks. And I'm thinking that I was glad to hear that a lot of people are notifying Ms. Fisher that, they're getting it on their own, and that's important, because I was really hoping that, we could get more vaccinated, but at least having the first vaccine and the others trailing, we really have to push that somehow. The funding, I do believe it sounds like a lot of money. It sounds like it's all money, but this is money in order to fight the pandemic and to get supplies and help with extra supervision and all of these things. But maybe there's a way that if people really wonder the dollar items, and I'm not sure, the dollar items of where each of the first set of money of the 26 million, the first part of the CARES Act was 26 million, the next one anticipated coming from the federal government is another 26 million, that those line items could be given out to parents in an act of transparency. And then we would be getting the extended learning grant for reopening if it passes, and I think that's really important to help. And this 24/7 tutoring is amazing. I really wasn't familiar with it till we voted on the FEV, I think it's called, tutoring program. So listening to all of the parent comments, and the numbers are dropping, and I'm optimistic that the middle and high schoolers would be back before long as well, because we don't even know what will happen in 2 weeks. Every week is a new thing. So I just want to say I appreciate the work, the input from the parents. I appreciate positive solution-based comments also, and I appreciate the work of the assistant superintendents in what they've done to try to put together. Everybody can look back and say we could have started this in August and matched up teachers the right way and everything, but so much changed, it might not have made a difference. So I believe people are actually, along with what Allison Sear said, people are trying to do their best, and we're all trying to get through this together. And finally, coming up to that March 13th one-year anniversary of sending kids home, and I think things are improving, and we can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
Wendy Jonathan.
Good evening. First, I'm glad to be back. I didn't want to return until I had my second vaccination. And quite honestly, I'm married to a husband who is an essential worker. He's been going into the office every single day since this whole thing started, working with clients and everything. And he doesn't have the vaccination. He's not getting it. I don't know when he's going to get it. He's not till I think 1C. So I have to be aware of what his health, I have to constantly be cognizant of his health. So I'm glad to be back, but I'm taking precautions. And I also realize that you don't see Linda Porras right now on the screen, but she does clap her hands periodically about something that's nice being said. I mean, I always thought that you guys could see us when you were watching us during the meeting. Since our meeting, our last meeting, I participated in California School Boards Association. I sit on the California School Boards Association as the director for Riverside and Imperial County. I will tell you that as a school board organization, we are in contact with the state of California, and we are promoting things that are good for school districts and making sure that we're getting funding to make sure we have the funds to pay for the cost of opening up the schools. So I want you to know that there is work being done at a state level, and we are actively involved with that. We did have an opportunity to visit Franklin Elementary this evening. It was incredible, the work that they've done. I have full confidence that when the students are back in school, that they'll be in a protected environment. And I want to thank both our cabinet, our superintendent, all of our classified staff who worked diligently to make sure that all those things were in place and put in place. And I really do appreciate that. And obviously, I do appreciate the teachers currently working as distant learning, and those teachers that are willing to take the leap and work in the hybrid mode. I appreciate that they will be doing that as well. And finally, I wanted to share that I will be reading across America with Washington Charter. I will be going to 2 classes, one on Thursday and another one later on that day as well, to connect with the students, because I think that that's really important. But again, I want to thank everybody. I appreciate you being here and realize we do hear what you're saying. I see a light at the end of the tunnel, because the numbers are going down, and I have to apologize for my music on my laptop. This is a new laptop, and I went looking for the sound, the volume volume buttons on the side, and this one doesn't have them. But the reason I was looking at the computer is because in some of the neighboring counties, for example, Imperial County, which is to the east of us, they're right now at 5 out of 100,000. So you have to understand that things are changing. They're changing very rapidly. And so I think that our newest word of 2020, 2021 is pivot. And I think that we all have to know that this is going to be requiring a lot of pivoting, but I have full confidence that we will pivot in the right direction. So thank you again.
Linda Porras.
Yes, I'm here. Well, first of all, I want to just congratulate Angela Torres on the video and the school, the Knights doing it right. I enjoyed the energy and the enthusiasm and the school spirit and just the love that the kids have just putting on everything and being a part of the distance learning, and you're doing what you can with what you have. So I think that was really awesome. So thanks for sharing that. And also I liked what Laura Fisher said about the 4 W's with coming back. And number one was welcome. And I think that we all, have dealt with 2020 as the ghost year. It's like sometimes I even forget that this is 2021 because 2020 was just kind of a ghost for us. But anyway, we all do need to be welcoming, and we do welcome our students. We're so excited. We really are excited. Ultimately, we want all of our students back, and we have to follow all the guidelines, as you all know. But it looks like it is happening, and I kind of feel like, giving a little cheer because we are going to be bringing our kids back. And I was able to attend the tour of Lincoln via FaceTime. Mr. Bailey used his phone so I could go on the tour. I'm not there on the dais because my mother is just got her first. Well, she got her first shot. We're waiting for the second one, but I have not had my shot yet at all. I'm waiting for that to happen, but she's compromised, and so I have to be very careful with her, and cannot leave her alone. And so that's why I'm not there seeing all your smiling faces. And but the Lincoln Elementary, I'm just so proud of our staff and what they've done to accommodate and go above and beyond what was actually required by having the HEPA filters in each classroom and the shields and the desks and everything. Excuse me. And anyway, I just really think that everybody has pulled together and worked as much as we possibly can get done for our students and for our staff, because ultimately what we've always wanted is to be able to bring our kids back when it's safe. And thank God the numbers are going down. We still have to be safe and do what we need to do to follow all the rules and everything. But anyway, I'm really excited about bringing everybody back. And anyway, I'll look forward to seeing you guys one day when I can get my shot, when I get on the list to be able to do that. And I appreciate all the parents' comments, and congratulations, Allison, for another wonderful award. You are so deserving. And I really appreciate your comments. And Joe Martin, congratulations for the Future Azars Award. And of course, Dr. Kelly Mae Balmer, to be on the board of directors. That's so awesome. So anyway, thanks everybody. And I look forward to seeing everybody.
Thank you. Anna Conover.
Thank you. I have actually, I'm going to ask for some clarification from Dr. Volmer, Dr. Mae Volmer. As you were giving your update, and I was sitting here looking at the dates. So the trimester is over
March 5th?
March 5th.
Correct.
When are parent conferences? Will there be parent conferences?
So their parent conferences are not the same week for all of our schools. Some of our schools did have parent-teacher conferences originally on the books for the week of the 15th. However, they're working with their staff to change those and with their families to push those back a little bit, just because of how it coincides with reopening. So there will be parent-teacher conferences, but they will be adjusted a little bit.
Okay, because I'm looking at the dates. We vote, let's say we vote tonight. Let's say we decide school opens the 15th. However, you want the new classes, the plan is to start on the 8th, which is Monday.
Yes, due to the trimester ending on the 5th and the new one starting on the 8th.
Right, and I understand that. However, I'm looking and I'm a teacher. I'm in the classroom. Here comes the end of the trimester. I have report cards. I have grading.
Oh, yeah.
I have all of this, and it's expected to be done by Friday?
Oh, I thank you for asking that question. Actually, no, we, because of this very reason, moved the report card window back up a little bit. So teachers have already completed all those report cards. They were finished on Monday. And then
Okay.
additionally, students will be working asynchronously this Friday afternoon to give teachers time to work with those new class lists that they get and get everything set up and ready for Monday morning.
Okay, because that seemed just a very short little window of time there. Okay. So report cards have already been done. They've already been turned in.
Yep, they're all completed.
They will be expected, though, to meet with the parents of the students that they previously have. Okay. All right, I just wanted clarification on that. And as far as lesson planning, also clarification. So if I'm in hybrid, I'm making a lesson plan for cohort A for the 2 days that they're with me, the 3 days that they're working asynchronously. Then I turn around and use the same lesson plan for group B.
You absolutely, teachers will approach it a different way, but certainly you can use the same lesson plans, and some of what they're doing, even though they do it in a face-to-face environment, can be altered slightly to be delivered in that virtual environment as well. But yes, they can, there's many ways to approach it.
Yeah, the
Yes.
first week will be a little off since I'll be starting.
Sure,
Okay, I
yes.
just wanted to make that clear in my mind. And as far as the training of the staff, and like you said, numbers change, everything changes, different, different testing. There's change constantly. So I do want to keep in mind that as far as training the staff, like I made a comment last time and it kind of got taken out of context, but yeah, it's just very imperative that everybody from the assistant superintendents, down to the classified, to the noon yard supervisors, that everybody adheres to the plan. Everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing. If I need the information just flows. That the information flows, the training goes, and the fact that hopefully we don't relax our standards, because safety is number one. And other than that, I did enjoy the video. The Knights do know how to do it right. And it was a very nice video. It was nice to see. Thank you.
For myself, it is our goal to give everybody what they want all the time, every day. And we cannot do that clearly with the circumstances that have been handed to us. But we do listen to what you're saying, and we are working hard. And I've appreciated the effort of the cabinet and the people that we come in contact with, because we will be providing some in-school learning for those people that want to be in school, and we will be providing distance learning for those people that don't want to come back. And we will be providing sports for those people that want to participate in sports. And if you can provide the information on the spectators, and we can align that with what we want to give the parents the opportunity to see their children. But this is an unusual situation, and we have not been able to give everybody what they want every day for every one of our students. And it's not because we're not trying. People come up and talk about finances, because if you come to the board meeting every year, we have to talk about finances 4 times a year. We have a preliminary budget, then we pass the budget, then we look back at the budget, and then we have the auditors come in and approve the budget. So every year we look at that 4 times, and every year I think we at least overlap 2, because we're always working on next year's budget while we're approving this year's budget and then getting the year before's audited. And so I know tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I'll be talking to our auditors on the phone just to make sure everything is okay and nothing is slipping between the cracks. So when you think we talk about money a lot, it's not that that's what we want to talk about, it's that's what we're mandated to watch over. Every year, our budget has to be approved by the county. And if we don't have enough in reserve, we get in trouble. And then we don't get to make our decisions. Then the county comes in and they provide their own people to make the decisions, and all our contracts go out the door and we lose our local control. And so Jordan is very mindful of the money that comes in and the money that goes out. And if you are concerned about where it goes and you want to see that, we provide it throughout the year. We just had it Jordan, was that the auditor last meeting we had? We have the complete unaudited financials, I believe, on our website, don't we? Okay, so if you want to see where the money comes from and you want to see where the money goes for 2019, 2020, 2020, 21, and then we're working on the proposed budget for next year, all that information is available for you if you'll go on our website and look for it. Okay, and so you shouldn't be asking questions about, well, you should be asking questions if you don't know, so I can provide you the information where you can find it and look at it. But again, we're working hard. I was overwhelmed by how hard our people have been working, going to Franklin Elementary today and seeing, is it going to work on the 8th or the 15th? I don't know. But I know we're giving 100% effort to make it work, and if we make a mistake, it's not because we're not trying. Everybody wants to do what's best for everyone, and we're going to keep trying. And I hope we please you, but if we don't, I'm sorry. So, Mr. Bailey, your comments.
On that note, I do want to say congratulations to Dr. Vollmer on her appointment to COSIN. In that position, that's a pretty big deal. She'll definitely join a team and hopefully positively influencing the decisions of the policymakers in Washington, D.C. So congrats on that. Allison, California Teacher of the Year. Great to see you. And I want you to know I hold you in highest regard. I respect you. I respect all our employees. And my heart goes out to all employees that have worked extremely hard to make it work, to keep it on the rails during, as you stated, an unusual circumstance that only comes once. Hopefully, I can just stop there. Only comes once. But staff have done a great job. And, I feel like we're kindred spirits. We've voted on the losing Super Bowl team together. I just want to speak from my heart briefly here. I understand this is difficult. It's difficult for everyone. And I think the best way I can phrase this, again, my wife being an educator, I would be mindful of her perception as well, in that when we move back into a hybrid model, it's going to be disruptive. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It will. But we've identified, I think everyone in this room would identify that getting kids back into somewhat normal, getting staff back into somewhat normal, is something we want a lot. And in order to get a lot, we all have to give a little. I'm just telling you right now, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's not the preferred model. And if you can imagine, I'm going to take you back in the fall when we took this plan, the hybrid plan live. The community responded, not in a positive manner, but I'm glad the community responded. That the plan won't stand, I think was one of the signs I saw carried out on the sidewalk, right? So we took it back to the drawing board. Our original plan in hybrid was to bring everyone back that wanted to be in person, and then everyone that wanted to stay on hybrid, distance learning, they would have migrated to what was known then as the expansion of the Summit virtual program. Parents, 72%, as I remember, 400 and some comments that night. It's still written on my whiteboard. When we tallied it, were adamantly opposed to that plan. They did not want to lose their school affiliation. And I don't blame parents for that whatsoever. So literally, over the months, staff have gone back. They've tried to hand match parent preference with available staff. And I say available staff because just as Dr. Salazar in her update provided, we have a large number of staff that have accommodations. They have to teach from home. Well, if your son or daughter wants hybrid, that teacher's not in the classroom now. They have to teach from home to finish out the last trimester. So you see how complicated, that's just one nuance. It's a domino effect. We can't please everyone. But as long as we say that this is what we want as an end game, to get back to in-person learning as soon as it's safe to do so, as soon as we can, I think we're all just going to have to give a little, myself included. So I appreciate everyone having comments. The passion is behind your child, teachers, their students. There's nothing wrong with that. I'll fight to the end of the earth for my child, my children in this case. Nothing wrong with that. So I just say that to set up what will be a potentially difficult transition, but once we change the rail, we can finish out 50, I think it's 54 days after March 15. And Allison, specifically, we thought, maybe wrongly, that building in that transitional week would allow a digital handoff so that social emotional support was there, that we could explain safety procedures so that we would re-engage in some cases where there was a change of teacher, that would be the best mode of transition, a softer transition rather than a harder transition. So just know that there was a lot of heart and thought and many hours of work put into this to try and make it work so we can reach that end game. Trying to do our best.
Right, that concludes comments, and now we'll move on to general function business services. The first one is 18.1, which is a resolution. Resolution of the Desert Sands Unified School District Board of Education approving amended and restated bylaws for the Desert Sands Unified School District Measure K and Measure KK Independent Citizens Oversight Committee. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved, Anna Conover.
Second, Wendy.
Is there any discussion on this? Okay, hearing none, call for the question. This is a roll call vote, so Tricia Pierce.
Aye.
Linda Porras.
Aye.
Wendy Jonathan.
Aye.
Anna Conover.
Aye.
And Donald Griffith votes aye, so that carries 5-0. General function business services, we have 18.2 to 18.5. We can take those together or we can take them individually. Is there a motion to approve these either as a group or individually?
I make a motion to approve 18.2 to 18.5, the second readings of and the Citizens Bond Committee appointment by Tricia Pierce.
Is there a second?
Second, Anna Conover.
Conover, is there a discussion on any of these items? Okay, hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, I think that was 5-0. Okay, moving on to general function educational services. We have 19.1 to 19.3. Is there a motion to take these together or individually?
I move to take 19.1 to 19.3 as a group for educational services.
By Wendy Jonathan. Is there a second?
Second, Anna Conover.
Seconded by Anna Conover. Is there a discussion on any one of these three items? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that carries 5-0. General function personnel services, there's one? No. Yes? All right, I can't.
I make a motion to approve 20.1 with Brandman University by Tricia Pierce.
Second?
Second, Anna Conover.
Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that carries 5-0. Okay, general function 21, student support services. We have 21.1 to 21.5. Is there a motion to take these either individually or as a group?
I move we take general function student support services 21.1 to 21.5 as a group.
Anna Conover, is there a second?
Second, Wendy Jonathan.
By Wendy Jonathan. Is there any discussion on any of these 5 items? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That carries 5-0. General function superintendent, proposed timeline for the return to in-person learning opportunities. Is there a motion to approve this item?
To approve general functions 22.1.
By Wendy Jonathan. Is there a second?
Second, Linda Porras.
Seconded by Linda Porras. Is there any discussion?
Is this the motion coming up with the date for return? So the wording of the motion has to be worded at this time?
Already been moved and seconded by Wendy Jonathan and Linda Porras to approve this motion as written.
Proposed timeline for return to in-person without any detail?
Yes. It's contained in the underlying part of your agenda. I don't know how you...
But it's not read out loud for the public? It's on the agenda that the public sees too? Can't we read it? No? No, it wouldn't. It would, this is like one of the most important things. We're back here. Well, nobody needs it read? I don't know. I don't have it in, I don't have my agenda, I have my agenda up on here, but maybe the person who made the motion could read it.
Well, that's not how it's done. I mean, you read this, or I read it when I prepare for it on Sundays.
Right, but I'm
So-
just thinking some of the parents listening and stuff do not have access and don't hear the exact wording. I know I can read it, but I'm wondering what they see and what they hear and what they've had access to.
Can't they just click on it? And also, isn't there no, but it's on the regular agenda for anybody to access online.
Yeah, if I could interject, yes, it was posted in the agenda on purpose. It was also loaded on super seconds, but to appease the board, I'm more than happy to read the actual motion since it's superintendent recommendation.
Sure, read
Okay,
it.
Thank you. This motion would be to approve a start date of Monday, March 15th, 2021 for in-person hybrid schedule learning for grades pre-K through 5 and return for in-person hybrid schedule learning for grades 6 through 12 as permissible within prevailing public health guidelines with a minimum 7-day notice to staff and community.
Discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that carries 5-0. Okay, consent items, student matters. There are not any. Consent items, business services. There are 12, 24.1 to 24.12. Is there a motion to take these together or individually?
Make a motion to approve consent items, business services, 24.1 to 24. Keep going, 24.12.
By Tricia Pierce.
By Tricia Pierce.
Is there a second?
Second, Anna Conover.
Seconded by Anna Conover. Is there any discussion on any one of these items?
I just want to say I'm really liking all these clubs at DRA. I mean, I think that's awesome.
I didn't know that they still play Pokemon.
And And I do appreciate the cosmetology club, as I spoke to some students and they were really interested in that. So, thank you.
That last week, our last meeting.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that carries 5-0. Moving on to consent items, educational services. We have one agreement with superintendent of schools. Is there a motion to approve 25.1?
So moved.
By Anna Conover.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second, Wendy Jonathan.
By Wendy Jonathan. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that carries 5-0. Personnel services, there are no consent items. Consent item student support services, there's one, 27.1, the agreement with Riverside County Superintendent on our homeless. Is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved. Anna Conover.
By Anna Conover. Is there a second?
Moved. Patricia Pierce.
By Tricia Pierce. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that carries 5-0. Okay, consent item superintendent amid the 2021 Board of Education committees. Is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved. Anna Conover.
By Anna Conover. Is there a second?
Second, Wendy Jonathan.
By Wendy Jonathan. Is there any discussion?
I just wanted to ask, was the update the 2x2 by the City of Indian, for the City of Indian Wells? Was that the
Just
update?
added it.
That's correct.
Glad to see that.
Discussion? Okay, we'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 5-0. Okay, personnel action certificated. There's a blind item. Dr. Salazar?
Yes, there is. For 29.1, under certificated personnel, agenda item number 19 on page 3, personnel is pleased to recommend the appointment of Helen Chang to the position of assistant principal at Jefferson Middle School.
Okay, with that addition, is there a motion to approve the certificated personnel actions?
So moved.
By Wendy Jonathan. Second?
Second by Tricia Pierce.
By Tricia Pierce.
And I'd like to recognize Rosa DeBello and Sharon Hoff from Amistad. They both are retiring. Rosa of 28 years, Sharon of 17 years, and Robin Merritt at La Quinta Middle School of 28 years. And good luck, Robin. I used to teach with her, and I hope all of them enjoy their retirement.
Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, I just would like to congratulate Rosa DeBello. She was at Indio High School for several years, and she's a really great counselor, and I just wish her the best on her retirement.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that carries 5-0. Personnel action classified. Is there a motion to approve the classified personnel actions?
So moved, Wendy Jonathan.
Is there a second?
Second, Anna
Second,
Conover.
Linda Porras.
Sorry, Linda. Anna got you.
Sorry, Anna.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to recognize Rosa Gonzalez at Indio High School. 41 years she's worked in our district. I know. Give a clap. That's
all right.
She must have been like 10 when she started working there. And then Maria Rodriguez for state and federal programs. She was with us for 22 years. So congratulations to both of them.
Awesome.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, that carries 5-0. Call out of closed session actions. Do we have anything to call out?
First time in a long time, no items.
Suggestions for future agendas that receive at least 3 votes. Tricia Pierce.
None.
Jonathan?
These two items, and they may not require being on the agenda, but just clarification. Spectators at events, is that something that we would have to add to the agenda if we wanted the family members, immediate family members to attend and not just one family member attending the events?
Could update in a Friday letter, Dr. May Vollmer or myself with the guidelines.
Perfect. And then another item, and it may not require to be on the agenda, but again, I just want to check the utilization of the film academies at our schools, at Indio High School and Palm Desert High School, maybe having them film our athletic events. It's one way to incorporate our CTE programs and let our athletic events be televised in a way. So it might be worthwhile looking into. Perfect.
Linda Porras, do you have anything you'd like to put on a future agenda?
I have nothing, thank you.
Oh, Anna Conover?
I do, actually.
Okay.
I do know that part of the grant is for intervention plan. And I'd like to, I know you guys have already started working on intervention plans. So I'd like to see maybe a presentation on what we are planning.
I'm like,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Else? That's it? Okay, I don't have anything. So, announcements. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education is Tuesday, March 16th at 7 p.m. in the District Education Center in Dune Palms, La Quinta, California. We will not be reconvening the closed session, and we will adjourn at 9:30.